President Volodymyr Zelensky is addressing a joint sitting of both houses of the Irish Parliament. We can join that now.
Hunger for more than dozens of countries, Asia and Africa, but even more because there will be a shortage of food and the prices will go up. And this is reality for the millions of people who are hungry, and it will be more difficult for them to feed their families, especially in North Africa. They are undermining our seed time, they're destroying our infrastructure, and they're deliberately provoking the food crisis. And what will happen as the result of this crisis? At least there will be political turbulence, and as maximum the binges of violence and new refugees who will be looking for saving their lives. Russia is using this hunger weapon. The worst thing is the city of Mariupol. There's 500,000 inhabitant city was put under siege, and they have blocked the access from the soil, from the sea. They are blocking the humanitarian cargo. They are not allowing anything to come through, neither water nor medication. While it was snowing, people could melt the snow to get water. Now they don't.
The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky there addressing a joint sitting of both houses of the Irish Parliament. Of course, we'll keep you up to date on that today and developments there. We've got more of that to come in this news update for you as well. Now, 3 minutes past 10. Main story of the day. Millions of people, though, are going to be paying more in national insurance from today as it rises by 1.25%. It's going to decrease in April next year again, but a new 1.25% health and social care levy is going to be introduced instead. Well, the rise that comes into force today means Britain's tax burden has now risen to its highest point in 70 years. The government says £39 billion will be raised over the next 3 years, helping to reduce the NHS backlog. The Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, told us the support the government provided over the pandemic, borrowing £400 billion, is money that's got to be paid back.
Economically, it is not sensible just to continue borrowing and borrowing. We're still running a deficit, so if it wasn't the levy, it would mean more borrowing. I mean, of course, the alternative way is if we didn't tax and went for that borrowing, it's also morally wrong as well, because it would mean that we would be asking our children and our grandchildren to pay for our health care and our care costs in old age. I mean, how can that possibly be right?
Well, the financial well-being of households has fallen to its lowest point in 2 years because of the rising cost of living. The Scottish Widows Index shows a decline in household disposable income. 70% of households say they need to dig into their savings to meet growing expenses over the next 12 months. Coronavirus case rates in England are the highest they've ever been. Experts from Imperial College London say a rising prevalence in the infection in older adults may increase hospitalisations and deaths despite high levels of vaccination. Well, the two variants of Omicron have caused twin peaks in the pandemic, one in January, another in March of this year. Ed Sheeran has won a High Court battle in the copyright case of his song Shape of You. The singer denied his 2017 single copied parts of the 2015 song Oh Why by Sammy Chokri. Well, the writers of Shape of You launched legal proceedings in May, 4 years ago, asking the High Court to declare they'd not infringed the copyright. The managing director of Manchester Airport has resigned as Easter holiday plans continue to be disrupted this week. Bosses at the airport said Karen Smart, who'd had been promoted to the role at the start of the pandemic, will return to the south of England for family reasons and to pursue fresh career opportunities. Well, airports and airlines have been struggling with staff shortages due to COVID, with travellers facing flight cancellations and long delays. Married couples in England and Wales are now able to legally break up without having to attribute blame for the breakdown of their marriage. It's the biggest overhaul of the law in half a century. No-fault divorce legislation comes into force today. Campaigners say that for families who want to break up amicably, it will help families move forward without conflict. Well, divorce lawyer Emma Gill told GB News couples could now file for divorce together.
You can file an individual petition now, but what's really good, Eamon, is the fact that you can now lodge a joint petition. So a couple who've grown apart, perhaps they've been together 20 plus years, children have gone off to university, they've looked at each other and realised it's not the person that they married, but they want to act in a dignified way, can actually do this jointly.
You're up to date now on GB News. I'll bring you more as it happens. Now let's head back to the point.
Good morning, this is To The Point on GB News with me, Mercy Muroki and Patrick. Christys on your TV, radio and online. We've got another great show lined up for you to kickstart your day. Here's what's coming up.
Yes, right. So national insurance payments are increasing from today to help the NHS and social care sectors recover from the pandemic. So how much more will you have to pay this year? And is the tax hike worth it? Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Pat Mcfadden, will explain.
No, it's not.
It's not worth it, no. Although he has got a good name.
Well, England and Wales have introduced no-fault divorces, meaning separating couples will no longer have to assign any blame for the breakdown of their marriage. But will an easier divorce process help or hurt families? Well, a divorce lawyer will help us find out.
Yes, look forward to that window into my future. And finally, it's National Pet Month this month, which celebrates and raises awareness of responsible pet ownership. So Vanessa Watson of the Hope Rescue Centre in Wales will tell us more about how we can do better. More responsible pet owners, right? So send us pictures of your pets. This is it, people. GBViews, GBnews.uk. Yeah. Get the pets coming in.
Yeah, we are currently looking at some very cute dogs on screen for our radio listeners. But yes, we have all of that coming up and much more across the programme as well. And as we said earlier, get in touch with your views, GBViews at gbnews.uk. But first, Patrick gives his views on Russian President Vladimir Putin.
I was wrong about Putin. I always knew he was a bit of a gangster, I always knew he was ruthless, but there were elements to him that I quite respected. The kind of strongman image, frankly, just the fact that he rose to power, he kept power, didn't take any messing from anyone. I like the fact that he knew Angela Merkel didn't like dogs, so he turned up to meet her with a massive dog. I thought that was great, actually. Still do, to be fair. I quite like the fact that he didn't toe the line, that he was a bit of a loose cannon, that, let's be honest, the world feared him. I knew he was dodgy, I knew he was corrupt, but if I'm being honest, and hear me out on this, a bit of me quite respected that, because he's been so shameless about his dodgy dealings, and yet he's managed to get away with it for decades. Everyone praises Jeff Bezos for being so rich that he could divorce his wife and still be the wealthiest person in the world. But he's got nothing on Putin, has he? Bezos went just about into space in a phallus-shaped rocket. Putin has a proper space programme. Bezos owns property. Putin owns a country and an army. Putin has seen numerous prime ministers and presidents come and go. In a way, he's seen it all come and go. And he's clung on, not just clung on, but thrived. And despite knowing that he was an out-and-out wrong'un, there were parts of his character that I had to begrudgingly respect. But like I said, I was wrong about that. Actually, to me now, he's a war criminal. He's unhinged. He's an inherently evil man. In my opinion, he probably needs taking out. The latest information to come out of Ukraine is sickening. People may say Putin isn't responsible for the actions of his troops, that they went rogue. No, they didn't go rogue. When they were raping women and killing children, they were doing that in the knowledge that their leader wouldn't mind about that he wouldn't care. Putin sets the standard, and that standard is that of a war criminal. Surely, he cannot simultaneously be in total control of Russia, its media, its elections, its society, and then not be in total control and have absolute accountability when it comes to the behaviour of its armed forces. If we all know that Putin is in total control of every aspect of his country and that he has, for decades, tightened his screws of power, then he's also responsible, in my opinion, for the rape, the genocide, the execution and the extermination of innocent Ukrainians. If Russians have committed war crimes and he is in total control of Russia, then he's committed war crimes. And that's that.
Yeah, not much more I can add to that, really. I mean, some of the things we've seen over some of the images, some of the footage of the crimes being committed. I mean, it's half term, so it's we have to be mindful of small ears, so we won't really repeat some of the things that I've seen.
It's the worst of the worst.
It's the worst of the worst. It really is. And as you say, as the man at the top, he has to take ultimate responsibility. And my hope is that he will, have his day and he will have his reckoning. Whether it will happen by the time as he's still alive. He's a pretty old man. Whether it will happen in his lifetime is another question, sadly. Yeah,
I'm not hopeful of that. And like I said, look, I'll hold my hands up to it. I was wrong. There were bits of his character that I did quite respect, and not anymore now. But anyway, GBViews, GBnews.uk, shifting tone. We are already getting in some pet pictures, which I think is lovely. Shadow the cat is a personal favourite. We'll be going to those throughout because is it National Pet Month? Is that what it is? National Pet Month. Pets get a month. Well, I do get a day, actually, to be fair.
I might put up a picture of my puppy and my cat later.
Right, good stuff. Well, good stuff.
Anyway, now, from today, millions of Brits are going to be paying more tax as national insurance payments rise by 1.25 pence to the pound. The government claim that this rise is necessary to help repair the battered NHS and social care sectors post-pandemic.
However, critics warn that this tax rise could push already struggling families too far. So as we battle high inflation, rising food and gas prices, can we really afford to pay any more in tax?
Yes, well, Labour has opposed the rise in national insurance, and the Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Pat Mcfadden, joins us now. Pat, a very good morning to you. Obviously, this is a Conservative policy. If you were in government, what would you be doing?
Well, he didn't need to do this. If you look at how this started, he said this was necessary to fund the NHS and social care system last year. And then he made a mini budget, a spring statement in Parliament a couple of weeks ago, where he decided to give half of what he was proposing to raise back to people. He did a partial U-turn on it. And then he said he would give the other half back in 2 years just before the general election. So what started out as a tax proposal that was being advanced in order to fund NHS and social care
what he did, Pat.
has been chopped to bits now. It's been chopped to bits.
Pat, that's what he did. That wasn't the question. What would you have done? Come on, Labour haven't got a policy in sight. What would it have been? Come on, tell us.
Well, we wouldn't have raised taxes at this time. What we would have done, not on incomes, what we would have done at this point was to levy a windfall levy on the oil and gas companies who are making a fortune out of the current spike in prices. We read in the newspapers today that Shell hasn't paid a penny tax in the UK for 4 years. And these companies are making a fortune right now. And the proposal that we've advanced for some months is to put a windfall levy on those companies in order to help, particularly the poorest people, meet the shocking energy bills that they have right now.
OK, so tax the rich, is that right?
No, I wasn't talking about incomes at all. I was saying we should put a windfall levy on the excess profits of the oil and gas companies. Let me give you an example. The chief executive of BP said that the current energy market was a cash machine for his company. The chief executive of Shell said it was a momentous year. Well, it is a momentous year for those companies. And we think it's right that they should be asked to pay a bit more in corporate taxation in order to help people who are really struggling with their fuel bills right now.
OK, no, fair enough. I mean, you must be looking forward to the next election, presumably, because at the moment, you're actually kind of onto a bit of a winner, aren't you? I mean, people are feeling the pinch, people are feeling poorer. Even Conservatives aren't quite sure whether or not Boris Johnson is still a Conservative. Surely, Labour are going to make massive gains. All you need now is for Keir Starmer to tell us what he thinks about anything.
Well, look, of course we want the next election to come because families are really struggling now. We've got the biggest squeeze on living standards since the 1950s. And if you look at the other major developed economies, we are the only country, we've got the only government among the G7 countries who is increasing taxes this year. And by the time we get to the next election that you mentioned there, 7 out of 8 taxpayers will be paying more, even if the government goes ahead with its proposed penny tax reduction just in time for the election. And to stand back and take a look at it, of course you've got to take decisions about tax as a government, whether that's on the oil companies or whether it's on individuals. But tax shouldn't be used as this game playing that we've seen from the Chancellor
Come on,
about you put it up now. I've got a.
All right.
In order.
I've got a member of the Labour Party here telling me that tax can't be used to play games. I mean, come on, Labour's done an about turn on this, haven't they? I mean, are you telling me that under a Labour government people will pay less tax?
What I'm saying to you is that you shouldn't tax by saying, I want families to pay more in the midst of...
We're not going to pay less tax, are we?
So that I, the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, can offer you half of it back in 2 years' time. Why should families right now be asked to pay more?
Tell you what, come on, give it a guarantee, Pat. Give it a guarantee. Come on, give it a guarantee. Tell me what I'm voting for. Under Labour, come on, you're onto a winner here, Pat. You could convince the nation. Under Labour, are we going to pay less tax? That's what we all care about.
We'll publish our tax proposals when we come to the election. We're 2 years away from that.
That's a no then. I'll take that as. Let me ask you a slightly different question. The Business Secretary, Kwasi Kwarteng, has launched this scientific review of fracking. In the past, Labour has called for bans on fracking. What is your position now, given where we are as a nation, given that you yourself acknowledge that families are going to be struggling for the foreseeable future? We do not have energy security in this country in the way that we should. What is Labour's position on resuming fracking?
Well, it never worked when it was tried a few years ago, so I don't think the case for that has been proven. Whether the geology means it is a cheap source of energy here in the UK. There was an attempt for some years. It didn't happen before. We're not convinced that the situation has really changed since it was stopped a few years ago.
So you're for a ban on fracking, you're for the ban on fracking continuing, is that what you're saying? Because I don't know if you caught up with the show before ours, Tom Harwood, he had an expert guest on who said, actually, that position is sort of bogus. The kinds of earthquakes and things like this that people bring up, they're tremors, they're barely harmful, basically. So in light of that, isn't it time Labour changes its position?
Well, of course, there's a debate about these things, and it's quite right to have a debate about it, but we haven't been convinced that the evidence that led to the stopping of fracking back in 2019 has really changed. So by all means, the Secretary of State's asked somebody to look at it, but we've not seen evidence to convince us to reverse the position from 3 years ago.
You're pro-nuclear now then, are you?
Yeah, nuclear should be part of the mix going forward, definitely.
Well, that's good. This is interesting. Sorry, the reason why I'm asking is because I'm trying to tease out what Labour stands for, what you actually want. So you don't want fracking, you do want nuclear as a party, do you? Is that Labour's position?
Yes.
That they're going to literally go nuclear? Yes. Good stuff. Right?
Well,
okay, fair.
Well,
yeah?
Nuclear power. Yeah. The problem with nuclear power has been it's very expensive, and if you can get the costs, then clearly there are attractions in a form of energy which doesn't put emissions into the environment and doesn't mean you're reliant on someone like Putin to provide you with your energy resource. So, of course, there are big attractions to that. But the problem with it so far has been that the cost per unit of power, the unit of electricity you get, has tended to be very high. So there are still technological problems to be overcome. But if you can overcome those, it's obviously an attractive source of power when we want to be using more renewables and be less reliant on dictatorships around the world for supplying our energy needs.
Look, absolutely. And Pat, I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate you frankly putting up with me so far. But I have got one more for you because I've obviously detected the accent there. Presumably, if Labour comes to power, then Scotland gets a referendum, do they? Is that Labour Party policy? Because that's actually something that's gone under the rug a bit. If people vote Labour, you get potentially an independent Scotland, don't you?
That's not our policy, no.
Is it no? Are you sure? So is that not going to happen then? If Keir Starmer comes into power, we're not going to have an independence referendum in Scotland, do we?
No, we don't want another independence referendum. That's not our policy.
Ah, good stuff. All right, OK, thank you very much. Chief Secretary to the Treasury there, Pat Mcfadden. joining us now and being very candid as well, which is nice to see.
Gave a few straight answers, which is rare to see from a politician. But you are right. I think you're right in pointing out, that nobody really knows sometimes where Labour stands on many things, and it is a bit convoluted sometimes when they're giving answers on what their policy is. But we hope you're a bit wiser about that after that interview. But after the break, NHS staff are now being charged to park their cars at work. We'll be going to our West Midlands reporter, Balvinder Sidhu, for more on that. But that's the weather first.
Good morning, Alex Deacon here with your latest weather update. A mix of sunshine and showers today, but a colder feel for many as well. That's primarily because a cold front has been pushing south overnight. The isobar's fairly close together though, so it is still going to be quite windy, and the coldest air is still in place across northern Scotland. Where this weather front is lying, that's going to bring outbreaks of rain for most of the day across Orkney. Elsewhere, we'll see rain showers coming and going, moving through on the fairly brisk wind, so it won't rain all day, far from it. There will be some sunny spells around for pretty much all parts, but the showers will never be too far away, working their way in and drifting by on that brisk breeze. Heavy showers in places as well, and when the rain comes along, temperature will drop away. When the sun's out, we might get up to the mid-teens across the southeast, but generally feeling colder, certainly compared to yesterday as that wind strengthens. And it will get very windy tonight across parts of the west, Northern Ireland, western Scotland initially, but turning blustery everywhere as the night goes on. Some very strong gusts, bringing in more showers, maybe more persistent rain, possibly across parts of the south. Some uncertainty about how far north this rain is going to get overnight, helping to keep the temperatures up here. Where we've got clearer skies, though, there will be a frost and the showers turning back to sleet and snow across parts of Scotland, even to lower levels for a time on Thursday. So again, it could be icy tomorrow morning. There'll be wintry showers over the hills of northern England too. At low levels for most, it will be rain that we see, and not much of that across the south come Thursday afternoon. But although there'll be some sunny spells, it's going to be cold tomorrow. Temperatures for most places, single figures at the very best. Add on that wind, a significant wind chill tomorrow. Stays pretty chilly through the next few days as well. A few showers on Friday, but many places dry and bright. And Saturday also looks dry and fine before more wet weather comes in from the west on Sunday. Goodbye.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children, and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London, EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls, and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate, and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
Good morning, it's 10:25 and this is To The Point with me, Mercy Muroki, and Patrick Christys on GB News Live, on your TV, online and radio.
Yes, right. So on Friday, free hospital parking for NHS staff was suspended, with most staff now expected to pay. But with the rising cost of living affecting pandemic-weary doctors and nurses as well, one Birmingham man who lives opposite a hospital has taken matters into his own hands. So Akil Ahmed has spent about 20 grand converting his driveway into a car park and is charging people £5 a day to park there.
Yes, well, he says it's a lot cheaper than parking at the hospital, while our West Midlands reporter Balvinder Sidhu sends us this report.
Akil Ahmed has put up the sign and now he's waiting for business to pick up. He owns this house, which sits directly opposite Heartlands Hospital in Birmingham. It was a chance encounter which inspired him to clear his front garden to make way for a car park.
I was doing a bit of work on the house and in the garden. I was telling him, when a guy come past, he goes, you know, you wouldn't mind if I just parked here for a bit, because all that car park was closed. And I said, yeah, no problem. And as he's walking past, he gave me a £5. He goes, yeah, I'll take this for your trouble. Because he goes, I don't know how long I'm going to be in the hospital for. And I thought, oh, all right. And that, in my mind, solidified the idea. People have just said, oh, you know what, it's a brilliant idea. Because, I mean, look how close we are to the hospital. We're like spitting distance. So for them, it's easy. I do have 2 nurses that come and park here on a regular basis.
Car parking charges at hospitals were scrapped during the pandemic, but last Friday they were reinstated. If you work at this hospital in Birmingham, from May you're going to have to start paying £10.20 a day to park your car to go to work. One agency nurse told me that she's now considering using the car park across the road because it's half the price. In response, the hospital trust have said that they are looking at other ways to help staff get to and from work, and if you're on a night shift, it is free to park. There are 20 spaces, and he's even got a price to drop off your kids at school. The system is simple. You park your car and then you pop a £5 in the letterbox.
Before I made this area didn't look nice, this particular area where I'm standing. It was full of greenery, it wasn't presentable. But now it's neatened up the area, so it's not just a case of me making money, it's making the community look a bit better as well. You're going to have the peace of mind that not only is your car protected under my supervision, you know, I'm monitoring this 24/7. Like when you came in, I was like, you know, I know you're in the white car, even though I wasn't even here. So they've got that peace of mind.
Akil says he's had a positive response so far and he hopes to make a profit too. Balvinder Sidhu for GB News.
And he hopes to make a profit too, gosh.
Yeah, those are the famous last words. While joining us to discuss this further is a long-standing opponent of hospital car park charges, Jim Shannon MP from the Democratic Unionist Party. Good morning, Jim. We were speaking about this last week, and I can see both sides. On one hand, most people who work for private companies, for example, they often have to pay for parking. But on the other hand, it's not fair that patients should pay. So give us some of the pros and cons of hospital charging, car park charges.
Okay, well, good morning, and thank you for inviting me on to make a comment on it. I'm very pleased to do so. Maybe when I look at the issue overall across the whole of the United Kingdom, I see very clearly the issues, but maybe I should explain that in Northern Ireland, up and through the coronavirus, through the COVID-19, nurses had free car parking. And it was because we felt it was right, because they were under pressure, they were facing long hours, they were working longer hours than they actually were getting paid. They were facing very traumatic circumstances with patients suffering from COVID, and some who probably perhaps were not going to make it and didn't. So the pressure was clear. Over here in Northern Ireland, we prohibited charges for the whole of the coronavirus and COVID-19 pandemic as it was. There will be a hospital parking charges bill coming to Northern Ireland only, just to give you an example, but it won't be in until 2024, which will prohibit charges for nurses. Already, doctors get free car parking, and I understand that, and we all understand that doctors are on a different level. They're more qualified. They have a very strategic role to play. But we do suggest that nurses are part of that team that makes it all work. So therefore, they should be able to have help now. So in this short term, we don't have the help, and I'm very concerned. I've written to the Minister about it. I'm very aware that the car parking charges for the Ulster are. I'm watching your programme there. There only are £4.50 per day for long stay at the Ulster, and £3.50 per day for short stay. But what is not part of this equation, which I think has to be, is the rising energy costs. For instance, a nurse from Portavogie in my constituency travelling to the Ulster Hospital was paying £45 for her fuel, is now paying £70 for her fuel. So that's an extra charge of £25. And for the car parking charges per week, it's between £15 and £20. They work 4 shifts for 4 days for 13 hours. So yes, those are the issues. So what is it right for nurses to have free car parking? It was okay through the COVID pandemic. I believe it's still and should be okay now. Thank you.
OK, all right. Well, look, to be fair, I did a big rant, I think you could call it, really, on NHS dissatisfaction. And actually, Northern Ireland emerges very well when it comes to actual satisfaction. So you guys are obviously doing something rather OK over there. So, you know, you can't dig yourselves out for what you're doing hospital-wise. But I've got to be honest with you, mate. Why do nurses deserve free parking? I don't get free parking when I turn up to work. All right, OK, I don't save lives, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, it's not the point, is it? Most people do not have free parking at work.
No, they don't. But we recognise as a nation, as a government, I think everyone, I mean, we remember clapping for NHS every Wednesday night or Thursday night. We did that because we believed it. We also believed that the car parking charges should be free for nurses during that period of time. We still have a crisis in the NHS, a crisis that will take some, I suspect, probably years to change and address the waiting list. So the crisis is there. The need for nurses is still there, and I think that we very, very much need to be supportive of them, because we're not out of the problems that we were before. So the point is well made. Should it be there for other civil servants? And so on. Well, we pay car parking charges where we are.
Yeah.
I make the point. I'll make this point in favour of some of the things that you referred to. Cancer patients, for instance, who are visiting terminally ill, they should be. They can claim for that the car parking charges, and I believe that is right.
But this is it, Jim. We currently have a situation where a bloke can drive himself to hospital whilst having a heart attack and has to at some point worry about, which is probably only going to increase his blood pressure, worry about how much he's going to pay in parking, but the nurse treating him won't have to. Just out of interest, Jim, very quickly, how much does it cost for a nurse to park their car in a hospital?
In the Ulster Hospital, it's £4.50 for a long day and £3.50 for a short day. That's in the Ulster Hospital. Maybe a wee bit more, maybe in the other hospitals, as far as the Royal Victoria, perhaps.
Fair enough. All right, Jim. Jim, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you very, very much. Really enjoyed that. And please come back on. Jim Shannon there, Democratic Unionist Party MP. Thank you very, very much.
Yes, well, we will be going to your views and your pictures of your cute pets very shortly. But first, here's the headlines.
Good morning, it's 10:34. I'm Rosie Wright, here to keep you up to date on GB News. The Ukrainian president has this morning told the Irish Parliament some political and business leaders think war crimes are not as horrific as financial losses. He's called for more rigid sanctions from the EU.
We still have to convince Russian foreign politicians that we need to cut any ties of global banks, of Russian banks with the global financial system. We still have to convince Europe that Russian oil cannot feed Russian military machinery with new sources of funding.
Pope Francis has condemned what he's described as the massacre of Bucha. Holding up the Ukrainian flag, he said it had been sent to him from the town. Recent footage has shown images of tied bodies and mass graves and other signs of executions. Millions of people will pay more in national insurance from today as the tax rises by 1.25%. Britain's tax burden has now risen to its highest in 70 years. The government says the £39 billion will be raised over the next 3 years, and that will help reduce the NHS backlog. The financial well-being, though, of households has fallen to its lowest point in 2 years because of the rising cost of living. The Scottish Widows Index shows a decline in household disposable income. Over 70% of households say they'll need to use their savings to meet growing expenses over the next year. Coronavirus case rates in England are the highest they've ever been. Experts from Imperial College London say a rising prevalence in the infection in older adults may increase hospitalisations and deaths despite high levels of vaccination. Ed Sheeran has won a High Court battle in the copyright case of his song Shape of You. The singer and co-writers denied copying parts of the 2015 song Oh Why by Sammy Chokri after Chokri claimed the tracks were strikingly similar. Ed Sheeran has insisted he's always tried to be completely fair in crediting people who contribute to his albums. You're up to date on GB News on your TV, online and radio. Shortly, we'll be back to the point.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London, EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
Oh, well, good morning, everyone. I'm doing it. It's 10:38 and it's me, Patrick, Christys and Mercy Muroki on GB News. We're live on TV, radio and online this morning. Go on, then.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the permission. Lots of you have already been sending in pictures of your pets. Carolyn is enjoying National Pet Week on Talking Pints with Bella.
Talking Pints with Bella.
That's great. That's it. Oh, for our listeners, what breed is that?
I don't know, mate. It's not Croft.
Yeah, I know, but we have to describe it for people who can't see it.
It's a small, fluffy dog that looks like it's had a few
That is drinking a pint, while John has both a cat and a dog. Oh, they're staring at each other lovingly on the steps. My dog and my cat just play fight constantly.
Gosh, that picture was taken moments before the cat swiped at the dog's nose.
Yeah, you can tell. He's licking his lips as well.
There we go, yes.
Well, a different John sent in a picture of his pet owl named Oti. Sits perched upon a tree stump and also looks slightly terrifying. Imagine looking out of your bedroom window at night and seeing one of those. If you were one of the neighbours, you'd be spooked.
I don't think we're asking enough questions about the fact that this geezer has a pet owl. I mean...
Yeah.
Who is it? Is it Hogwarts? Anyway, well done, John. Good stuff, mate.
Well, Carol has 2 rescue sisters from Portugal, Rosie and Bonnie. They're about 3 years old and they've had them for 15 months. They say it's been a work in progress with 4 trainers, but they say they're just about there now.
Oh,
super
well
cute.
done. Well
just
done,
relaxing on each other.
Yeah, that's lovely, actually. There's some lovely dogs there, and I think as well it's nice. I like to see it when people do, you know, rescue dogs from abroad, because although we've got a lot of homeless dogs in this country, I suppose you could say, you know, I do think by and large we treat animals a bit better than in some other countries in the world. So it's nice to rescue.
Although I don't even remember during the Afghan war. When I forget the guy's name, but when Penfarthing tried to bring back some animals, I think that split the nation, didn't it, in terms of whether he should have brought animals back or people first?
It did, yes, it did split the nation. But anyway, the month of April is National Pet Month. This is why we're doing it, right? OK, so it's part of a campaign celebrating and raising awareness of responsible pet ownership. And that is, of course, why we're celebrating your pet. So if you're a responsible pet owner, please do send us a photo of your lovely pet to gbviews@gbnews.uk, which we can get into in the next hour. If you're presumably the inference there is if you're an irresponsible pet owner, then don't bother.
Yeah.
Right, well, joining us now is Vanessa Watson, who is Transformation Manager at Hope Rescue, a shelter in Wales that has been saving the lives of stray and abandoned and unwanted dogs that, through no fault of their own, of course, need a second chance. Vanessa, thank you very, very much. Look, of course, all joking aside, National Pet Month is absolutely massive. What does it mean to you?
It's important that we celebrate the immense joy that our pets give us. But it's not only about that, it's also about promoting responsible pet ownership, as you've said, Patrick. Rescues are busier than ever now following the huge surge in dog ownership during the pandemic. But I think it's a timely reminder that we need to think very carefully before we do bring a new pet into our lives.
And where are you in terms of whether people should buy new pets, shall we say, or you know, buy pets that aren't rescue pets? Because I bought a puppy recently. It was from a responsible breeder, but sometimes I do feel a bit guilty because there are lots of dogs, aren't there, out there that need rescuing. But of course, that's a more difficult job to take on, isn't it? But what would you advise people who are considering that decision?
I don't think you should feel guilty, Mercy. We always say to people, try and rescue first, check out your local rescue centres. If you can't, and you do buy a dog, as long as you are buying that dog responsibly, we don't have an issue. But the problem that we've got is so many people don't follow that advice, and they do buy dogs from puppy farmers, backyard breeders and low welfare breeders, and it's that actually contributes to the problem. But if you are going to a responsible breeder, you've done your research, then no, we don't actually have a problem with that.
So just talk me through. So it's been absolutely years since I've had a dog, unfortunately. Bless her, Tess, give her a shout out. And we went to Lee Dogs Home, right? Lee Dogs Home. We've always had rescue dogs, but how difficult or indeed easy is it to actually get a dog? So are there checks and balances? If I rocked up, so I've got a flat, right, and it doesn't have a garden. It's on the second floor. You know, and I'm out all day. Let's be honest, I'm here, right? So realistically, I shouldn't have a dog. Could I go to a dog's home now and get a dog?
Of course, there are checks and balances in place, but what we look is what each dog needs against what each home can offer. At Hope Rescue here, we don't have any blanket bans. So we've rehomed dogs to people who live on canal barges, people who live in flats. It very much depends whether that dog is the right dog for that environment. So that's why we always say, check out your rescues first. Unfortunately, we don't have enough rescue dogs for everybody who wants one, and that is a problem. So, of course, many people coming to us want a bomb-proof family dog. Now, we do have quite a few of those, but we also have dogs that need a little bit more experienced owners. So it's very much about finding the right dog for the right home, but always check out your local rescue first, because I think you will find that most of us are, in fact, very flexible.
We've got some pictures of dogs you've sent into us. We're going to have a look at those. Are they your dogs, or are they just dogs?
Oh my God! Is that a Shar-Pei? Is it Shar-Pei?
These are dogs that are up for adoption.
Is it a Shar-Pei in Essex, but a Shar-Pei everywhere else? I don't know. What is it?
It's a Shar-Pei. So yeah, this is Suggs. He's been with us for about 18 months. He's one of those dogs that does need an experienced home. He was straying for a very long time. He came in with lots of health problems. So he is looking for an experienced home.
Can we get those pictures up again?
Yeah, get them up, people.
Again. Super cute.
Oh, well, we will in a second, apparently, but there we go. Yes, okay, so I believe, yes, there he is, or she. What was he called again? What was it?
It's Suggs, and he's a Shar-Pei who's in foster at the moment.
So cuddly. You've also got Lolly and Missy, I believe, as well. I think we can take a look at those pictures.
Oh. What?
Yeah, so they're two of our OAP dogs. So they are just over 13 years old, and they came in due to their owner's ill health. So again, we put them into a foster home rather than kennels. They're an older pair. They're absolutely inseparable. So it's a bit harder to find a home, A, for OAPs, and B, for dogs that need to stay together. But we're really hopeful that we can also find them a loving home.
Yeah, no, I always feel so sorry for the older dogs. Again, obviously harking back a good few years now. When I was, look, you know, you go to a dog's home and usually, you know, the puppies, look, people want puppies, don't they, generally, or younger dogs. And yeah, realistically, you know, why? Well, I'll tell you what, sell it to people. Why should people go and get an older dog? Because these are the ones that really need the home. The puppies will always be all right.
I think so. I think, you know, it's about looking at what you can offer. And if you can offer a home to an older dog, it's a nice thing to do. It's a good thing to do. We're fortunate at Hope Rescue that we do have foster homes. So they are in a foster. But what we really want to do is see them settled in their forever home. But we do get people who specifically come to us that want to help those dogs that are struggling a bit more. And it's those sort of adopters that absolutely make our day.
No, absolutely. Well, look, thank you very much. Now, I believe that some of our producers have sent in pictures of their dogs, which is fantastic. So, should we keep you on the line, I think, and let's have a look at this. So
who's...
That's a...
Oh, Evie. Lemmy Winks, Ralph.
That's a cat for a start. Okay.
Reno.
I tell you what, that's a handsome dog. Now, if Keith...
You can't call a dog Keith.
Who calls a dog Keith? He's not a painted decorator.
Criminal.
It sounds like a painted decorator, not a dog. Keith, fantastic stuff. Well, anyway, if you're listening on radio, there's some dogs. Right, so, yeah, good. And cats, actually, as well. Yes, well done. Look, thank you, Vanessa, for your time. And good luck to you as well. It is National Pet Month, and in a way, it's all about you. So hopefully, maybe at the end of the month, I suppose, we can get you back on and we can keep talking about it. But keep up the good work. You're doing tremendous work. So thank you very much, Vanessa. And good luck to you and, indeed, your dogs. Obviously, Vanessa Watson there, who's Transformation Manager at Hope Rescue in Wales.
I think we should do this every show, as a form of therapy, you know?
I've just seen a very cute dog on your laptop.
We will be bringing you more cute pictures.
Well done,
a very cute puppy sipping on some beer. I'm not sure you're meant to feed it.
There's a lot of beer-themed dogs going on in a minute. Are you sure you're all right? But anyway, right, OK, fine. Well, on that note, a massive change in divorce laws in England and Wales comes into force today. Couples wishing to separate no longer have to assign blame for the breakdown of their marriage, just as well, in new no-fault divorces.
Yes, the most important question, I suppose, in a divorce is who keeps the dog, though?
Yes,
surely.
Indeed,
Previously, unless claims of adultery, unreasonable behaviour or desertion could be proven, the only way to get a divorce without spousal agreement was to live separately for 5 years. But now couples who want to separate because they've fallen out of love, maybe, they have already split amicably also, or because they just want more financial independence, can do so without having to play the blame game.
Right, well, joining us now to discuss this further is Georgina Chase, the head of family law at Slater & Gordon. Thank you very much for joining us. So, look, let's go back to basics here. So, what is really a no-fault divorce? Because the way I look at it, someone's always at fault for a divorce.
So, no-fault divorce being introduced today on the 6th of April is the biggest reform to the divorce law for 50 years. And what it means is that instead of having to assign blame, you literally present a divorce petition via the court's online government portal, and you prove that the marriage is irretrievably broken down by a statement of irretrievable breakdown. So it abolishes the 5 facts that you otherwise had to choose one of under the 1973 law, which was seen as archaic, and actually the change has been something that solicitors have long campaigned for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in two minds about this, because on the face of it, I think, look, if you want to get divorced, it's not really anybody's business why you're getting divorced, the state or otherwise. But on the other hand, I mean, I am somebody who values marriage as an institution, and I feel uncomfortable with anything that can be seen to be devaluing that or making marriage seem like it's just something you go into and you know, there's always a sort of a way out. Talk to me a bit about whether you faced that kind of argument, sort of the fact this kind of legislation devalues marriage?
Well, it's something that, as solicitors, we've long campaigned for the change because it actually removes tension, conflict, and approaches the legal ending of a marriage and the connected matrimonial finances and child arrangements in a much more conciliatory approach. Because otherwise, if you're having to...
Oh, no. But of course, unfortunately, we've lost Georgina, but of course, that was nobody's fault.
I knew that was coming, could see it a mile away.
Yeah, look, I think it's a really interesting point you made there, actually. I'd like to dig deeper into that because look, it's something like 1 in 2.5 marriages or whatever end in divorce, which I think is an astonishingly high number.
Isn't it?
Actually.
Yeah.
And often there's kids involved, and I can't help but feel that people go into marriage without thinking about consequences. And it's like, OK, you can just toss it away. And
yeah, that's what I'm uncomfortable with. But we can actually have Georgina back up on the screen. There we go. Sorry, we lost you for a second there. Just you were saying that this kind of argument between devaluing marriage, but on the other hand, it's sort of your business if you want to get divorced.
Well, firstly, you cannot get divorced if you've not been married for less than a year. And the law in relation to sorting out the matrimonial finances and child arrangements doesn't change. Therefore, what this law does do, the end of the blame game, means that you can present a divorce petition without having to have the conflict, the tension, the stress, which can, of course, have an impact on how matrimonial finances and, most importantly, children matters are dealt with. So you're looking at a more conciliatory approach. I understand that for many people, they will see that this means that getting divorced is easier, but I think it's not necessarily easier because the law in relation to how to sort the finances and children hasn't changed. What it means is that it's taking that sting out. It's making it more accessible. But a lot of people have simply fallen out of love, and otherwise, if they've not been separated for 2 years or more, they're having to rely on the fault-based fact of unreasonable behaviour, which of course unnecessarily creates tension and increases hostility. We are at Slater and Gordon actually reducing our fixed fee divorce for the applicant in the divorce in order to ensure that people, instead of going it alone via the court's online portal, do get the independent legal advice, which is crucial to get before embarking on this system, because we are concerned that otherwise people may think legally ending the marriage once you've got that final order, that you're done and dusted. But it's absolutely imperative that people realise you need to still sort out the financial aspects of the divorce legally, and divorce in its own right does not do that.
No, I understand that, but realistically, how many people get divorced just because they happen to have drifted apart? I mean, normally it's because someone's been doing something with the nanny or spending too much time at the pub, isn't it? I mean, how often is this actually going to rear its head, you know?
Well, the most common fact that people rely on in order to get divorced is unreasonable behaviour up until today. So it has been a fault-based fact. Now, that could be for the reasons you've outlined. Obviously, the other false-based fact is adultery. Or alternatively, it could be just because people don't want to have to wait for the 2 years separation, but actually it takes two to tango, and there's probably been an element of fault on both sides. It's just that under the 1973 law, prior to today, one person had to assign blame.
OK, no, it's interesting stuff. And crucially, I suppose, potentially, you now, which is good news for Slater and Gordon, might be dealing with more divorces, more money.
Well, we might be. We are expecting to see a rise of divorces following the change in the law, but also we think that a number of people may decide to go it alone and not actually get the legal advice that they need to sort out the connected matrimonial finances and children. Hence our decision to make sure that we have slashed our divorce petitioner or applicant fixed fee in order that people do get access to the legal advice that they need.
Good stuff.
Well, thank you so much for talking us through that. I'm sure, I mean, look, it will probably lead to a rise in divorces, but I think we passed that point a long time ago in terms of peaks in divorce.
I do think, Georgina, Slater and Gordon, there was correct me if I'm wrong on this, there was a cracking documentary series about you guys in Manchester, I think, wasn't there? Is that right?
It wasn't about us, no.
Oh, sorry.
We've not been on a reality television show.
OK, apologies. Well, anyway, either way, there we go. Well, I did my law degree in Manchester, and that's probably one of the reasons why I didn't pass it. So there we go. I did, actually. I'm great. Anyway, right, OK, so moving on. Thank you, Georgina.
All right, shall we look at more...
Oh, I was absolutely adamant that it was about Slater and Gordon. It turns out it's about someone else, so...
Anyway, let's look at more pictures of cats and dogs, right? Dee's 6-month-old kitten, Smokey. Let's have a little look.
Smokey's given up, apparently, so there we go.
There
she is.
There you go. Dee's 6-month-old kitten, Smokey. Looks quite terrifying if you woke up from that in the middle of the night. But... cats are cute.
Nice. It's a
Are you a cat man or a dog man?
Always dog. I had a cat once, and I didn't see it for months. It just lived in the closet. There's probably a joke in there somewhere. But anyway, so Elaine says that these are my dogs, Elaine. Thank you very much. Effie, her 8-month-old, puppy, and Beryl, I believe. Now, they've got a bed each, but Beryl always squeezes beside her mum. This is cute. Beside her mum, and has even parked her monkey on top of the long sofa.
Oh, yeah, 2 little dogs cuddled up in a blanket, in a dog bed there. Well, here's a picture of Winnie, very muddy Winnie.
Good stuff, Winnie.
I think that's a Shih Tzu, maybe.
Not allowed to say that this time in the morning, mate. So I think we can say that if you're listening on radio, that's basically, it is a Shih Tzu with a load of mud in its face. So there we go.
Super cute.
I like it. It's good.
Last one, Badger, who's a rough-coated Parsons Jack Russell.
Badger, good stuff.
Mad as a hatter, apparently. That's what Keith and John from South Sea Hampshire say.
That's a handsome dog. I will give you that. I tell you what, he looks like he's got class.
Yes, keep them coming in. We're really enjoying this, actually. Patrick is. I've never seen you this happy. But yeah, keep all your thoughts coming in to us. GBViews at gbnews.uk. Here's the weather.
Hello again, I'm Aidan Mcfadden from the Met Office. Bright spells for many today, but there will be a lot of heavy showers around and some more persistent wet weather affecting the far north of Scotland, in particular Orkney. That's where an occluded front is lingering through the rest of the day. Low pressure sitting out to the west of Scotland, bringing this blustery and unstable westerly airflow in. A spell of rain clearing the far southeast as we head into the afternoon, but further fairly heavy showers following, and these will be lively with hail and gusty winds associated with them. Otherwise, a mixture of bright spells and showers for many. There will be some sunny spells at times, but in the north of Scotland and for parts of western Scotland, some more persistent rain, especially Orkney, and it will feel cold in the Northern Isles, milder elsewhere, but an increasing wind through the day. In fact, that wind reaching gale force in the north of Scotland, and then those gales pushing into Northern Ireland and parts of the Irish Sea coast, with northwest England, North Wales seeing gusts of 60, perhaps more miles an hour. Some persistent rain running along the south coast of England. In between, there'll be some clear spells overnight, but colder air is spreading south, some icy patches for the north of Scotland, and some hill snow as we wake up on Thursday. And that spell of hill snow pushes into parts of northern England as well. Turns showery through the day on Thursday, so a mixture of rain and hail at lower levels, snow showers over hills. And then in the far south, any early rain clears, some sunny spells here, 12 degrees, 8 degrees for Manchester, feeling cold in the wind further north across Scotland and Northern Ireland, although there will be some bright weather around and some sunny spells here and there away from the showers. Showers spill south during Thursday evening. Clear spells follow. Again, hill snow affecting parts of Scotland, Northern England, North Wales as well, where we see those showers come and go. A frosty night on Friday into Saturday. It's going to be a fairly bright weekend for many, but there will be a chill in the mornings.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London, EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
Good morning, everybody. This is To The Point with me, Patrick Christys. I'm Mercy Muroki, on your TV, radio and online, live on GBNews, with you all the way through until midday with a massive show for you. What?
Yes, I was going to actually... I was going to say, if I have white specks on me and on my hair, I have been redecorating the kitchen. Patrick thought it was dandruff earlier, so I just had to...
You are aware that we're on TV at the moment?
Yeah, I'm just clarifying that, you know, I have paint in my hair.
Get in touch with your views as usual. GBViews at gbnews.uk. But before that, let's get the latest news very seriously.
A very good morning. It's just 2 minutes past 11. I'm Rosie Wright, here to keep you up to date on GB News. The Ukrainian president has told the Irish Parliament that some political and business leaders think war crimes are not as horrific as financial losses. Volodymyr Zelensky's called for more rigid sanctions from the EU. Well, the chairman of EU leaders, Charles Michel, says the EU will have to introduce a ban on Russian oil and gas imports sooner or later to pressure Moscow to stop its invasion of Ukraine. President Zelensky said he cannot tolerate any indecisiveness from the West on sanctions.
We still have to convince Russian foreign politicians that we need to cut any ties of global banks, of Russian banks with the global financial system. We still have to convince Europe that Russian oil cannot feed Russian military machinery with new sources of funding.
Ukrainian authorities in the eastern region of Luhansk hope to evacuate civilians through 5 humanitarian corridors today. Ukraine has said that Russian troops are preparing for a new offensive in the Donbass area, which includes Luhansk. Well, their regional governor has urged residents to get out while it's safe. Latest British intelligence reveals heavy fighting and Russian airstrikes have continued in the encircled city of Mariupol. Most of the 160,000 remaining residents have no light, communication, medicine, heat or water, as Russian forces have blocked humanitarian access. In the UK, labour shortages in food and farming, as well as pressure caused by the war in Ukraine, could see food prices continue to rise. A government report said as of August last year, there were potentially in excess of 500,000 job vacancies in the sector. That's affecting food security, animal welfare and the mental health of staff. Millions of people are going to pay more in national insurance from today as it rises by 1.25%. It will decrease in April next year, but a new 1.25% health and social care levy is going to be introduced instead. Well, the tax rise means Britain's burden and tax has now risen to its highest point in 70 years. The government says £39 billion will be raised over the next 3 years, helping to reduce the NHS backlog. The Health Secretary Sajid Javid told us the support the government provided over the pandemic, borrowing £400 billion, is money that's got to be paid back.
Economically, it is not sensible just to continue borrowing and borrowing. We're still running a deficit, so if it wasn't the levy, it would mean more borrowing. I mean, of course, the alternative way is if we didn't tax and went for that borrowing, it's also morally wrong as well, because it would mean that we would be asking our children and our grandchildren to pay for our health care and our care costs in old age. I mean, how can that possibly be right?
Coronavirus case rates in England are the highest they've ever been. Experts from Imperial College London say rising prevalence in the infection in older adults may increase hospitalisations and deaths despite high levels of vaccination. The two variants of Omicron have caused twin peaks in the pandemic this year, one in January and another in March. Married couples in England and Wales are now able to legally break up without having to apportion blame for the breakdown of the marriage. In the biggest overhaul of the law in half a century, no-fault divorce legislation comes into force today. Campaigners say that for families who want to break up amicably, it will help them move forward without conflict. Or divorce lawyer Emma Gill told GBNews couples could even file for divorce together.
You can file an individual petition now, but what's really good, Eamon, is the fact that you can now lodge a joint petition. So a couple who've grown apart, perhaps they've been together 20 plus years, children have gone off to university, they've looked at each other and realised it's not the person that they married, but they want to act in a dignified way, can actually do this jointly.
Ed Sheeran has called for the end of baseless claims against songwriters. It's after he won a High Court battle in the copyright case of his song Shape of You. In a video posted on social media, Ed Sheeran said claims like this are too common and they're damaging to the industry. Sheeran and his Shape of You co-writers denied copying parts of the 2015 song Oh Why by Sammy Chokri after Chokri claimed the tracks were strikingly similar. The University of Bristol has created a new 3D printed fingertip with a sense of touch similar to human skin. Researchers used a mesh of tiny pin-like bumps like those found on human fingers to produce it. Well, they found that it was able to produce artificial nerve signals detecting pressure and the shape of contact. That's giving hope to researchers in improving future prosthetics. You're up to date on GB News. I'll bring you more as it happens. Now let's head back to the point.
Good morning, this is To The Point on GB News with me, Mercy Muroki, and Patrick Christys on your TV, radio and online. We've got a great show lined up for you for another hour, so here's what's on the menu.
Yes, so the government's two-child benefit policy has plunged families into poverty, apparently, so says a new report. Anyway, this comes as the PM defends the increase in national insurance contributions. Well, our political correspondent, Tom Harwood, will be joining us in the studio.
Yes, and it's now the 42nd day of the war in Ukraine. The Ministry of Defence says heavy fighting is taking place in and around the city of Mariupol. We'll be joined by the former head of the British Army for some expert military analysis.
Yeah, gone right to the top there, haven't we? And yes, it is in a shift in tone. It's National Pet Month, which celebrates and raises awareness of responsible pet ownership. So keep these pictures coming, people. GBView, gbnews.uk, all your pets. We'd love to see it.
Yes, that's all coming up and much more across the programme. So get in touch on our email, gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Yes, indeed. But first, Mercy's going to give her views on government incompetence at the Home Office.
Is there any single government department that is as beset with failure and as chronically incompetent than the Home Office? I'll give you a clue. No, there isn't. To say the department has a catalogue of failures is a massive understatement. It has a whole blooming library. The latest one, well, after setting up a visa scheme for Ukrainians fleeing war to join British families, which opened on March the 18th, it's emerged the Home Office is doing what the Home Office does best, making a dog's dinner of it. So far, around 4,700 visas have been granted under the Homes for Ukraine scheme out of 32,300 applications. So far, the so-called 24-hour hotline set up for families opening up their homes turns out to be shut for half of the day and shut for the weekends. So far, the promised mammoth operation to prepare for an unlimited, indefinite number of refugee applications under the scheme is being handled by a grand total of 15 staff. So far, the supposed 48-hour application processing times families wanting to house refugees were promised has turned to weeks. In fact, some families are yet to hear back after applying the very day the scheme opened last month. Asked to explain what on earth was going on, why the system was failing so monumentally, the government's refugee minister gave this clarification, and I quote, "It has not worked. A glitch, maybe. Whatever the reason, it has not worked." Well, thank you, Minister, for that enlightening intervention. Glad to see you're on top of it. And to make it worse, now it's emerged the Home Office has been forced to rewrite guidance for Ukrainian refugee call centre workers because they've been given out incorrect information, which could be forgivable if it weren't people's literal lives at stake. That faulty information it has been giving out has actually wrongly stopped desperate Ukrainian mothers and children from flying to the UK to find refuge. Officials also claim that technical issues have stopped travel forms from being sent to refugees. It's no wonder Priti Patel's popularity ratings amongst the Conservative Party's own members has gone in the red. The Home Secretary's net satisfaction rating is now minus 13.6 amongst the party faithful. That's according to Conservatives' Home Regular Cabinet League table. Quite the feat, I would say, for a woman who's positioned herself as a tough on law and order, good old proper Tory. The government's been blighted by allegations of endless wine parties. To me, all the endless incompetence suggests they couldn't even organise a knees up in a brewery. Yes, the Home Office does have some good. It isn't all bad, but maybe it's worth throwing the baby out with the bathwater on this one. The Home Office doesn't need a shake-up or a refurb. It needs a complete overhaul.
Yes, and actually, just say watch this space, people, because I'm currently working on something that I think will add to this regarding our asylum seeker policy, I suppose. So sorry to dangle that carrot and not tell you exactly what it is, but you find out in about a week's time. But yeah, I mean, there's no forward planning. It's absolute chaos at the Home Office.
It's just endless. You know,
and also, sorry to interrupt, but they're mugging off their own Tory councils, right? So their own local councils, their own MPs, right, are suddenly being landed with something, right, that they've had no consultation over, nothing at all, and they're not even looking after their own.
Yeah, it's complete. Like, the amount of scandals and the amount of failures that the Home Office has has been responsible for, really, not least Windrush, which was, of course, the big one that everybody remembers, where they actually destroyed people's cards to prove they were legally entitled to be in the country. And that's before you get to all this stuff about the channel, isn't it? I mean, it's just complete failure, in my opinion. I think let's just scrap the whole thing, start again, because at this point, I feel like we're always just, playing catch-up and trying to fix problems after problems after problems. Let's just start again.
Well, you mentioned there they couldn't organise a knees up in a brewery. I'm not sure they could find the brewery, to be honest with you, but there we go. But look, yes, anyway, right, we're moving on slightly, I suppose. The Prime Minister has said that the national insurance increase is fair and responsible. The 1.25% rise comes into effect today. Lucky us. The Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, spoke earlier to Eamon and Isabel on breakfast. He defended the decision.
Who wants to see a tax rise when it can be avoided? But I think the reality here is that we all know that the pandemic has had a huge impact on NHS and social care. That impact is going to last for many years. And the NHS and social care needs support to get through it. Part of the way it does it is through new money, but it can't just all be about money. It's also about reform and greater efficiencies, better leadership as well. But the money part is important, especially when you have an NHS that is free at the point of use, paid out of general taxation. This new levy will contribute towards, every penny of it will contribute towards £39 billion of additional funding over the next 3 years. That will give the NHS the biggest catch-up fund in its history to crack through that COVID backlog. And it will mean, for example, the NHS can operate at 130% of normal levels of activity. It can get through some 9 million more scans and tests and procedures over that 3 years. And then also some of that money, over £5 billion, will go towards adult social care, meaning more people will get the means-tested support, millions more people, and everyone will be protected from the catastrophic costs of care.
Yeah, but Health Secretary, nobody is denying that what you're trying to achieve is necessary and admirable. It's just the means by which it's being done. And, you know, you only have to look at how we're making lots of savings. I believe that borrowing is 30 billion less than at the time of the budget in October. We've seen huge inflation, tax receipts. We've got money in the bank, this so-called headroom, which cynically looks as though it's been saved just before election time. That could have paid for all of this, couldn't it?
Well, we've had the pandemic. The pandemic has meant, because of the support the government provided, you know, rightly to families, to individuals, to businesses, it meant an additional £400 billion of borrowing. That's money that's going to have to be paid back over the coming years. And it is not economically. It is not sensible just to continue borrowing and borrowing. We're still running a deficit, so if it wasn't the levy, it would mean more borrowing, and that would mean that the public finance, the economy overall, would be at risk at a time when the economy is creating record jobs. And that is, by the way, I think the best way to help people out of poverty and difficult circumstances is to have an economy that's growing, that's creating jobs with record low unemployment. I mean, of course, the alternative way is if we didn't tax and went for that borrowing, it's also morally wrong as well, because it would mean that we would be asking our children and our grandchildren to pay for our health care and our care costs in old age. I mean, how can that possibly be right?
Health Secretary Sajid Javid there, speaking to Isabella Neyman on Breakfast earlier. Now, 5 years ago, the government implemented a two-child benefit policy, which excludes all but the first two children from all available benefits. Since then, the fertility rate for third and subsequent children born to poorer families has barely fallen.
Yes, indeed, obviously. The report commissioned by the Nuffield Trust has instead plunged millions into further poverty. So the UK's birth rate, apparently, has been in a steady decline since the 1960s. And according to world indexes, we come in at around 160. Well, joining us now is our political correspondent, Tom Harwood, who's going to talk to us about this. What's the main takeaway here, Tom?
Well, the takeaway is that it looks like the two-child limit on benefit payments hasn't really done what it was supposed to do. Now, it's understandable that a lot of people were worried about incentives in the benefit system, where people may want to have more children, not for the sake of having children, but for the sake of having more cash. That seems like an amoral incentive to foster. And yet, it doesn't seem like that was particularly true, because the number of children being had by people on benefits has barely shifted, despite benefit expansion being ended for those who have more than two children. So really, it looks like this policy may well have not done what it said on the tin. And more than that, the big issue that we're facing, not just in the UK, but in the Western world in general, is this drop in fertility, people not having children. Actually, to be honest, more people of higher incomes having fewer children than people of lower incomes, which is creating a very worrying situation for years down the line, because, of course, it's the whole social infrastructure, the whole pension fund, all of the sort of spending on the NHS that is tilted massively towards those in end-of-life care. That's funded by people who are paying tax now. If there are many more older people retired than young people paying tax, that system may start to collapse.
Yeah, and it's such a simple point, but it's one that, you know, when these people who say we're overpopulated, we need to reduce the population, I mean, that's all for the birds, isn't it? We actually need more children. But I'm uncomfortable with this whole idea of, you know, cutting benefits to stop sort of poorer people having children, because that's what it can be seen as. It's almost as if, you know, a lot of people don't consider that when it comes to deciding that they're going to have children or not. Are families now who are struggling, who have many children, who aren't entitled to these benefits, I mean, can they expect any support from the government, who recognise this hasn't really worked out how they anticipated?
Well, this is the very early stages, of course. This is one report saying that actually, looking at all of the inputs and outputs, it doesn't seem to have done what it was aiming to do. I don't think that we can expect a rapid government response to this, but potentially I think this signals a direction of travel. There will be an increasing chorus from people on all sides of the House of Commons, to be frank, to say that potentially the time to end the limit on those benefits may well be coming. I know that a number of Conservative MPs are worried about the state of natalism in this country, although, as I say, there does seem to be a more particular concern and potentially a lower birth rate amongst people who have higher incomes and, frankly, higher education.
Yeah.
OK, I mean, the idea that someone might be about to have unprotected sex with someone and then consider the benefit scheme immediately before that, I find absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I think we're simply not happening, is it?
I would say, though, as controversial as it is, it has been exploited by some people. The idea that it never happens is not true. I think there are people who exploit the benefit system.
I mean, the people who might not have unprotected sex as a result of the fact that they think, well, we're not going to get our third kid paid for. That ain't happening.
You do see these kind of tabloid stories sometimes of the single mother who decided to have 12 children because it earned her X amount of money.
But
those seem to be isolated cases and not really rife in the system in general.
But we're still paying for them, though, aren't we? Regardless, surely. Like, I know that we might not be paying in this specific sense, but if someone has 6 kids, right? Just because we don't end up giving this specific benefit to them, we're still paying for that.
Oh, certainly. The infrastructure,
if you're on benefit,
the school places, everything that is required in sort of that social infrastructure in the country, of course, that is still paid for. And it's concerning because, actually, to some extent, it may be a false economy. If you stop giving one particular benefit, but then someone has to, for example, do childcare because they can't afford childcare, comes out of work, stops paying tax, potentially children go with malnutrition because they can't be fed, and then that creates a whole number of problems for the NHS. There are some real problems there and false economies potentially in this policy. Certainly something that needs to be explored in much more depth.
Tom Harwood, thank you very, very much. As always, our political correspondent there, Tom Harwood, whizzing you through the latest on that particular story. Well, after the break, we'll be looking at more photos of your beautiful pets in honour of National Pet Month. We've been going to those throughout the show, so get in touch and see your furry friend on the telly. But first, it's the weather.
Hello again, I'm Aidan McGivern from the Met Office. Bright spells for many today, but there will be a lot of heavy showers around and some more persistent wet weather affecting the far north of Scotland, in particular Orkney. That's where an occluded front is lingering through the rest of the day. Low pressure sitting out to the west of Scotland, bringing this blustery and unstable westerly airflow in. A spell of rain clearing the far southeast as we head into the afternoon, but further fairly heavy showers following, and these will be lively with hail and gusty winds associated with them. Otherwise, a mixture of bright spells and showers for many. There will be some sunny spells at times, but in the north of Scotland and for parts of western Scotland, some more persistent rain, especially Orkney, and it will feel cold in the Northern Isles, milder elsewhere, but an increasing wind through the day. In fact, that wind reaching gale force in the north of Scotland, and then those gales pushing into Northern Ireland and parts of the Irish Sea coast, with northwest England, North Wales seeing gusts of 60, perhaps more, miles an hour. Some persistent rain running along the south coast of England. In between, there'll be some clear spells overnight, but colder air is spreading south, some icy patches for the north of Scotland, and some hill snow as we wake up on Thursday. And that spell of hill snow pushes into parts of northern England as well. Turns showery through the day on Thursday, so a mixture of rain and hail at lower levels, snow showers over hills. And then in the far south, any early rain clears, some sunny spells here, 12 degrees, 8 degrees for Manchester, feeling cold in the wind further north across Scotland and Northern Ireland, although there will be some bright weather around and some sunny spells here and there away from the showers. Showers spill south during Thursday evening. Clear spells follow. Again, hill snow affecting parts of Scotland, Northern England, North Wales as well, where we see those showers come and go. A frosty night on Friday into Saturday. It's going to be a fairly bright weekend for many, but there will be a chill in the mornings.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London, EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
Morning, everyone. It's about to go 11:27. I'm Patrick Christys. This is Mercy Muroki, of course, and you're watching GB News live on your TV, online and radio this morning, and I think it's dog time.
Yeah, you sounded disappointed when you said this is Mercy Muroki there.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean it. Sometimes it's hard to find you true. What? Dog time! OK, go. You do it.
Yes, well, we've been asking you all morning to send in cute pictures of your pet to celebrate National Pet Month. So we can take a look at more pictures. Sadly, people listening to us on radio will not be able to see them, but we'll try and I'd get Patrick to give the best audio description
I'll
possible.
describe the dogs for our radio.
So Daryl says, here are my greyhounds, Danny and Birdie, relaxing on their sofa.
And if you're listening on radio, there's 2 greyhounds there.
Patrick, how dare you? They're not just merely 2 greyhounds. They're gorgeous little greyhounds.
Yeah, and Simon says, no, OK, there's a joke in there somewhere. But anyway, Denver, a lurcher rescue dog from the Dogs Trust in Kenilworth.
Looks like a wise old dog.
Really nice. He's got a bit of a beard. You love to see that.
Yeah. Well, Jay says, here is our rescue greyhound, Rosie, who like thousands are discarded after winning others lots of money. She says they're amazing pets, lazy and gentle, but also have a cheeky side. Sounds like you.
Yeah, I'll take that, although I reckon she's a lot quicker than I am. But yes, there we go. Because tell you what, greyhounds do get an absolutely rough ride, don't they, actually? They do, because they get used and abused, they get farmed out to the racetracks, and then when they're done, they're done. Anyway, right, Lynn says, Ty is... Oh, my good gosh, that's dog of the day so far. Ty, 6 months old today. I mean,
what breed is that?
That's like a designer dog.
That looks like a stock image of a dog. That's how good that image is.
That is well done on your dog.
Yeah.
Anyway, right.
Well, Andy says Ben the boxer. Here's Ben the boxer.
Ben. He looks like he's done a few rounds, to be fair. Lovely stuff. Jude says Phoebe, being her usual polite self. Again, if you're listening on radio, that's a dog with its tongue out. So there we go.
Tongue.
Tongue? Tongue? don't know. Anyway, right, okay, right. Anyway, so yeah, that's that. After the break, right. The former head of the British... oh, no, we're not going to break at all. Why would we do that? We're going to views instead. Well done, everybody.
Yes.
GBNews
Getting ahead of yourself.
GBNews.uk.
All the dogs have got you excited, haven't they?
And look, it's kicked off a little bit in our inbox about the whole benefit stuff that we were talking about before, about benefits for kids, etc. So, Patricia has been in touch. How can people have children when they can't afford them? There are children starting school in nappies. They leave school unable to read. Come on. It's time there was a good debate about benefits. Well, I do take your point to an extent, Patricia, don't get me wrong at all. But, I mean, them going to school in nappies is probably not about being able to afford to have kids or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, of course, you should be able to afford kids if you're having kids.
Well,
but life's life, isn't it?
I'd like a Porsche, I can't afford it.
Yeah, most people, you know, want kids and, OK, they're not in a great financial position, but I don't think that should preclude anybody from being able to have kids because I think it's a right any person should be allowed to make, regardless of their financial situation. But I get the point that as a taxpayer, you know, you can't fork out for every single person's child.
I suppose that's it, isn't it? It's all very well and good being like, well, you know, it's my right to have kids, I suppose it is. But, you know, if someone else is paying for them, at what point does it stop being your right to have kids, I suppose? I don't know. Anyway, said as someone who, as far as they're aware, does not have any kids. But, right, and, yes, to be honest with you, it's hard to get to the views because there's just so many pictures of animals. Someone's just sent in a picture of a snake. Here's my cute little snake, Nessie, who's a Western hognose.
Well, we will get that up very shortly. But after the break, the former head of the British Army will be joining us to give expert analysis on the ongoing war in Ukraine. But before that, let's give you this morning's news.
It's 11:30. Good morning. I'm Rosie Wright, here to keep you up to date on GB News. The Ukrainian president has told the Irish Parliament some political and business leaders think war crimes are not as horrific as financial losses. He's called for more rigid sanctions from the EU.
I'd like to ask you to convince EU partners to introduce even more rigid sanctions against Russia that would really make sure that the Russian war machine will stop. The only thing is that we're lacking is the principal approach of some leaders, political leaders, business leaders, who still think that war and war crimes is not something as horrific as financial losses.
Pope Francis has condemned what he's described as the massacre of Bucha, holding up the Ukrainian flag that he said had been sent to him from the town. Recent footage has shown images of tied bodies, a mass grave and other signs of executions. Now, millions of us are going to be paying more in national insurance from today as the tax rises by 1.25%. Britain's tax burden has now risen to its highest point in 70 years. The government says £39 billion will be raised over the next 3 years, and that will help to reduce the backlog in the NHS. The financial well-being of households, though, has fallen to its lowest point in 2 years. The Scottish Widows Index, that measures how financially resilient British households feel, well, they report a decline in disposable income for households. Over 70% say they'll need to use their savings to meet growing expenses over the next 12 months. Coronavirus case rates in England are the highest they've ever been. Experts from Imperial College London say a rising prevalence in the infection in older adults may increase hospitalisations and deaths despite high levels of vaccination. Singer and songwriter Ed Sheeran has called for the end of baseless claims against songwriters after winning a High Court battle in the copyright case of his song Shape of You. In a video posted on social media, the singer said claims like this are too common and they're damaging to the songwriting industry. Ed Sheeran and his Shape of You co-writers denied copying parts of the 2015 song Oh Why by Sammy Chokri after Chokri claimed the tracks were surprisingly similar. You're up to date on GB News. We're on your TV, online and radio. Shortly, we'll be back to the point.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London, EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
Morning everyone, it's 11:35. This is To The Point with me, Patrick Christys and Mercy Muroki on GBNews. We're live on your TV, online and radio this morning.
Yes, well, it's the 42nd day of the war in the Ukraine and Foreign Secretary Liz Truss will fly out to Brussels this morning to meet with NATO foreign ministers. Yesterday, the British Ministry of Defence said that the Ukrainians had retaken key territory near the capital, Kyiv.
Yeah, well, heavy fighting is continuing apparently in the key southern city of Mariupol, where Russian forces are encircling the city, and the humanitarian situation there is apparently worsening. Well, earlier this morning, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told the Irish Parliament that Russia is using hunger as a weapon and an instrument of domination.
Yes, well, joining us now to give us an expert military perspective on the conflict is the former head of the British Army, General Lord Richard Dannett. Lord Dannett, we appreciate your time so much this morning. Can you just give us a snapshot of where we are at the moment? Because some of the images that have been circulating are some of the most disgusting, horrific things I've ever seen. And that's clearly just a snapshot. Where is this war heading?
Well, I mean, you're quite right, Mercy, to say that some of the pictures that we've seen are really quite appalling, disgraceful, and frankly just shouldn't be there in the 21st century, and certainly not in Europe. I mean, as far as the overall situation is concerned, yes, as has been well reported over the last few days, the Russians have significantly withdrawn from the north of Kyiv and are pulling back to Belarus. They've taken quite a pounding there, and well done to the Ukrainians who have fought remarkably on that front. Just come to the south. As you were reporting just a moment or two ago on your news, the town of Mariupol is still holding out. This is quite extraordinary that after 42 days, and having been encircled for most of that time, Mariupol is still holding out. Whether it will continue to do so, I think only time will tell. If Mariupol does fall, then the Russians will have achieved their objective of having a land corridor from Crimea through Mariupol to the Donbass region. And of course, it's in the Donbass region, the two provinces of Donetsk and Luhansk, that we believe, with good intelligence basis, that the Russians will mount their new offensive to try and take those two provinces complete. If you remember, before the war started, Vladimir Putin declared that they were independent. Part of them had been occupied by the Russians since 2014. And certainly it would look as if the minimum Russian objective now in this war is to control Luhansk and Donetsk completely and have that land corridor from Crimea through to the Donbass. They're pretty much giving up in the Kyiv area.
Yeah, we can talk tactics. I'd like to pick your brains on what you just said there and delve a bit deeper, but there's something I want to do first with you, if that's all right. So as the former head of the British Army, No? If you were confronted with a situation whereby, well, it's not impossible to believe we'd invade someone, we did it numerous times, but let's say in Afghanistan, for example, where all of a sudden there's mass graves uncovered and there's mass rape and there's this, that and the other going on, right? And that's been committed by the British Army. Is it possible that that could have happened as the former head of the British Army without your knowing of it, without your say-so? My point here being is that how responsible is Vladimir Putin for the actions of his troops?
Well, let's put it in the context of Bosnia in the mid-90s. And I gave evidence against General Mladic and General Krstić, two senior Serb generals, at the International Criminal Tribunal in The Hague. Now, what was established there is that the massacre of 8,500 Muslim men and boys in Srebrenica in July 1995, the actions of the troops on the ground that did the killing can be traced all the way back to President Karadzic and General Mladic, who were the military and political heads of the Serb part of Bosnia at the time. What's called command responsibility can be traced back from actions on the ground all the way through to the political and military leadership. And it was because it was so well documented and evidence gathered that Karadzic and Mladic were both brought to trial in The Hague and were properly convicted. So Vladimir Putin and his senior generals want to be absolutely clear that the evidence that's being gathered of what's gone on in Bucha and elsewhere in Ukraine one day may well be brought before them at a court of law. Now, it may be impossible to get Putin into a court of law, but the court of history will certainly judge him as being appalling evil and go into the ranks with Hitler and Stalin of the most condemned people in the human race.
You said, look, that's really fascinating stuff. One of the things I wondered is, look, fingers crossed this ends at some point, right? If Putin ever travels abroad again, if he ever does a state visit anywhere else again, can he be nicked?
Of course he can, and I don't think he'll do that. I don't think we'll see Vladimir Putin in public probably ever again. Even within Russia, his security will be so tight because although the Kremlin can pretty much control the media and can control the information that goes out to the Russian people, there's sufficient information getting out through social media and through other informal networks that an increasing number of people in Russia know that this is an appalling war. It's being done apparently in the name of Russia, but they disown that. This is Putin's war, it's the Kremlin's war. He has virtually made himself a prisoner in the Kremlin and in his own other retreats. Whatever he's done to other people, he's certainly wrecked his own life. And if there was ever a question of going on a state visit, I don't think he'd get very far.
Yeah, and the Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz, stated that actually the EU would be worse off than Russia, basically, if we stop the dependence on, or the EU stops the dependent on Russian gas and oil. Clearly, there's a balance to be struck here, isn't there? Because lots of people globally are facing an energy crisis, and we have energy insecurity in this country today. How do we balance those diplomatic interests, those military interests, with the interests of people here at home who are struggling to get by and struggling to pay their bills?
Well, I'm afraid I would echo what President Zelensky was reported as saying, I think it was in the Irish Parliament earlier on today, and that he said previously, how can you weigh up the appalling loss of life being inflicted on Ukrainian people against the comfort and the warmth of other people in Western Europe provided as a result of them enjoying Russian oil and gas? I'm afraid, yes, this is Ukraine's fight. Ukrainian people are suffering appallingly, but they are fighting on behalf of the rule of law. They're fighting on behalf of democracy, and liberal democracy at that, which is something that we all enjoy. So I'm afraid we're all going to have to learn that we're going to suffer to some extent along with the Ukrainians, not being killed in the street as Ukrainians are, but actually having to accept that energy prices are rocketing up, energy supply will not be as good. And frankly, this is coming home to haunt some governments, in particular the German government, who has depended far too much over the last 10, 15 years on Russian gas and oil. And this is now coming home to roost. It's going to affect all of us. It might be Ukraine's war, but actually we're all going to suffer in this.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning, General Lord Richard Danner. And finally, are you at home by any chance? I was going to say you have fantastic taste in art. I was admiring your background there.
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you, I'm not actually. I'm in the boardroom of a friend's company where I nipped in to do this broadcast for you before I got elsewhere.
Oh, good stuff. Well, it must be a very successful company, but thank you very much for joining us. I really do appreciate it. Take care. I hope to speak to you very soon.
Yes. Are you okay? Yep.
Yes, we just got some
Yeah, he had a Theresa May moment.
I had a Theresa May moment, yeah, exactly. We just need a bit of the set to fall off now, and that'll be funny.
Needs some lemon and honey now, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Well, on Friday, free hospital parking for NHS staff was suspended, with most staff now expected to pay. But with the rising cost of living affecting pandemic-weary doctors and nurses as well, one Birmingham man who lives opposite a hospital has taken matters into his own hands. Akil Ahmed has spent £20,000 converting his driveway into a car park and is charging people £5 a day.
A fast planning application.
To park there. Well, he says it's a lot cheaper than parking at the hospital. I'm sure he's doing it purely for altruistic reasons.
No,
of course.
I think he wants
our Midlands reporter, Balvinder Sidhu, sent us this report.
Akil Ahmed has put up the sign and now he's waiting for business to pick up. He owns this house, which sits directly opposite Heartlands Hospital in Birmingham. It was a chance encounter which inspired him to clear his front garden to make way for a car park.
I was doing a bit of work on the house and in the garden. I was telling him, when a guy come past, he goes, you know, you wouldn't mind if I just parked here for a bit, because all that car park was closed. And I said, yeah, no problem. And as he's walking past, he gave me a £5. He goes, yeah, I'll take this for your trouble. Because he goes, I don't know how long I'm going to be in the hospital for. And I thought, oh, all right. And that, in my mind, solidified the idea. People have just said, oh, you know what, it's a brilliant idea. Because, I mean, look how close we are to the hospital. We're like spitting distance. So for them, it's easy. I do have 2 nurses that come and park here on a regular basis.
Car parking charges at hospitals were scrapped during the pandemic, but last Friday they were reinstated. If you work at this hospital in Birmingham, from May you're going to have to start paying £10.20 a day to park your car to go to work. One agency nurse told me that she's now considering using the car park across the road because it's half the price. In response, the Hospital Trust have said that they are looking at other ways to help staff get to and from work, and if you're on a night shift, it is free to park. There are 20 spaces, and he's even got a price to drop off your kids at school. The system is simple. You park your car and then you pop a £5 in the letterbox.
Before I made this area didn't look nice, this particular area where I'm standing. It was full of greenery, it wasn't presentable. But now it's neatened up the area, so it's not just a case of me making money, it's making the community look a bit better as well. You're going to have the peace of mind that not only is your car protected under my supervision, you know, I'm monitoring this 24/7. Like when you came in, I was like, you know, I know you're in the white car, even though I wasn't even here. So they've got that peace of mind.
Akil says he's had a positive response so far, and he hopes to make a profit too. Balvinder Sidhu for GB News.
Just me, is it? No? OK, fine. Just slip the cash through the letterbox, yeah.
Hey, Patrick has some strong opinions. But you seem a bit shy now, don't you?
He set up a business, right, where he's tarmacked his own driveway and he's you pay £2.50 to drop your kids off. He's even got a price to, if you want to drop off your kids. Of course he has. Of course he has. It's his business now, this.
My issue is, if your front garden is so big, you can tarmac over it and fit 20 cars in it, I think you're that's a stupid idea. Just, you know, renovate your house, you know, build an extension or something. I wouldn't tarmac over a nice front garden. That's so huge it can fit 20 cars in it.
I'm not convinced that this man is doing it singularly for the nurses. Anyway.
No.
Right, OK. So all morning, to mark National Pet Month, we have been asking viewers to send in photos of their pets. So many of you have been sending in pictures. We can't show them all, unfortunately, but we do appreciate you sending them in massively. Let's have a look at some of your cute animals, shall we?
Yeah, well, let's start with this video of Heather, the dog, very excitedly playing with a bowl of water in the garden.
Oh.
Dogs do the silliest things.
I'd love to be as happy as a dog, as carefree as a dog.
Yeah.
You know, it would be great. Charles's pet tats, apparently. African grey parrot, you'd love to see it. He says it sings somewhere over the rainbow, a magic moment. I would love to have an African grey parrot. I would love it. I really do. I like parrots.
Well, Anna sent in a picture of her pet kittens, Alfie and Eric, little cute grey kittens. Kittens are probably the cutest.
They're cute, cute now, but what's the damage they do to that couch over the course of the next few weeks? Let me tell you. Anyway, right here we can see Ganna's 2 pet dogs, apparently, on the settee. Lovely stuff. Thank you very much, everyone who's been sending these in. We've got Ian, have we?
Yeah, we've got Ian, who sent us a picture of his dogs relaxing at home in Norwich. They know how to pose. They know how to pose. What breed are they? Do you know?
I think, is it a Mastiff? Is it Bull Mastiff, maybe, I think? Anyway, right, Cleo. Cleo is a 3-year-old rescue dog. Lovely Cleo. Yes, fantastic.
Aww.
And
our viewer's pet cat called Rub.
Oh,
wow, looks a bit... He's not impressed. Cats always give you this unimpressed look.
Yeah, leave
when
me alone.
I walk into the house, my puppy runs up and jumps all over me and licks me. My cat looks like he does not want to see me ever again.
No.
And who is this? That's my...
That's your dog?
Shih Tzu. Yeah.
What's she called?
She's called Poppy.
How old is Poppy?
She's 7 months today, so happy 7-month, Poppy. If you're watching at home, I didn't leave the TV on, so she won't hear me. But
Do you think she would recognise your voice?
Yeah, she would. We're best friends.
Yeah, and who am I to get in the way of that? And look, as promised, okay? We've got a picture of a snake now. This is Jamie's cute little Nessie. He's a Western hognose. Good stuff. You love to see that. I enjoy that. I quite like that a lot. Also, can I just say quickly as well, someone sent me an email in front of me here on my laptop that just said the word tortoise, and then there wasn't a picture of a tortoise. So if you want to resend that, I'm sure we can maybe cram it in before the end of the show. But yeah, get those pictures coming in.
Yes, and it's, you know what? I think we should do this all month long. It is a national pet. Is it National Pet Month?
It is, yes.
So we can, for anybody who we've missed today, send in those pictures for tomorrow. I think it's lightened up the show.
No, it has absolutely. I must say, I miss my dog, unfortunately. But yes, there we go. Anyway, we'll keep these pictures coming in. Right, so we're going to round off with some of the headlines you might have missed. Okay, so the Duchess of Sussex is attempting to trademark the word archetypes. This is Meghan Markle, by the way, in case you've forgotten who she is. If you had, well done you. Anyway, she finally fulfills her £18 million Spotify deal by launching a podcast under the name Archetypes.
Well, Meghan and Harry's Archewell Foundation announced the podcast will debut this summer, 18 months after they signed with the streaming giant. Archetypes will be hosted by Meghan and Will in her words, dissect, explore and subvert the labels that try to hold women back.
Throw up quickly, sorry.
Of course, Archetypes is sort of a wordplay on Archewell Foundation.
Yeah, but it's also a word, crucially, that's been around for, I don't know, potentially hundreds of years. You can't copyright a word.
Gosh, yeah.
Yeah,
They're
you just can't do it.
So self-absorbed, so narcissistic, so...
Well, I'll copyright the word laptop. You can't do it. You know, you can't go, I want to go, so what? No, now what? Every time I use, to be fair, I very rarely use the word archetypes, but I'm going to start using it now. I shouldn't get the royalties. Anyway, right, moving on. Evidence has been released from a mysterious Pentagon UFO program suggesting UFO encounters are real and have led to adverse health effects, including radiation burns, electric shocks, and unwanted sexual encounters. Why are we only doing this now? We should have let in on this. Anyway, the 2010 US government report has said apparently that the now defunct Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Programme reported sufficient incidents and accidents have been accurately reported as to support a hypothesis. Some advanced systems are already deployed and are opaque. Basically, they've seen UFOs.
Yeah, I do believe in UFOs.
I believe.
Do you, though?
I believe, yeah.
Do you? No.
What, how can you not? You can see it.
That's a bug on the camera or something.
Let's have another look. Have a look at it.
Whatever it is.
Let's tell you what, it's a quick bug.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't believe it, but...
I do believe it. I believe it.
What, do you think it's aliens?
OK, now we're talking. Because I interviewed the guy who was the master-at-arms of the USS Nimitz, which was the ship, one of the ships, US ships, where they saw all these UFO sightings. There's about 500 people on that ship. They can't all be wrong, right?
Or they might have had a little bit of something in there. Might have slipped a little bit of...
But he seems all there, and he's adamant, really. And there are videos of it. But the question is, are they from another world? Is it a technology we don't know about, or could it be time travel?
If you think about it, I mean, I hate to drag this on, but we're here now.
Yeah,
the universe has existed for so long. For all we know, there could be civilizations in other universe that are a billion times more advanced than we are.
Anything could happen. Literally anything could be possible. Right, anyway, so we've been talking about National Pet Month this morning. Keep your photos coming in, obviously, by the way. And have you ever thought about cloning your beloved pet? Well, it turns out that's actually an option.
Yes, well, Vigent Pets and Equine is a Texas-based company that can clone your pets for the small price of £23,000 for a cat and, of course, £38,000 for a dog, and says business is booming, and no wonder with celebrities such as actress and singer Barbara Streisand cloning her pet. Streisand famously had her late pet Samantha cloned twice. She now has the genetically identical pups, Violet and Scarlet. I don't know how I feel about that.
That's not. Is that okay? Just get another dog. You don't need the same
I
dog
feel like
twice.
sometimes you just have to let go of things.
Let go.
Yeah.
If you at best stuff it, keep it in the front room, right? Move on, right? Move on.
I wouldn't do that, but
I can tell you. Okay.
Of course, that was a Texas-based company. Everything goes in Texas. It's the Wild West.
You know what they should call themselves? I saw you coming. It should just that's what it should be. It's literally just like, you know what? I thought, you know what? You're gullible enough to fall for this. We're going to clone your pet. I bet they just went. So what was the pet again? Sorry. Oh, it was a Shih Tzu, was it? Fine. What colour was it? Fine. Go to the dog zone, buy one of those, and go. Where we go? We cloned your pet. Give us 23 grand.
Yeah. Well, that is it from us here at To The Point. But sorry, we couldn't get to all of those pictures, but keep them coming in. We're going to be showing them tomorrow, and we're going to be putting them up on the GB News Instagram account as well. So you can check them out there, but don't go away, because up next is a briefing with Tom Harwood. First, the weather.
Hello again, I'm Aidan Mcfadden from the Met Office. Bright spells for many today, but there will be a lot of heavy showers around and some more persistent wet weather affecting the far north of Scotland, in particular Orkney. That's where an occluded front is lingering through the rest of the day. Low pressure sitting out to the west of Scotland, bringing this blustery and unstable westerly airflow in. A spell of rain clearing the far southeast as we head into the afternoon, but further fairly heavy showers following, and these will be lively with hail and gusty winds associated with them. Otherwise, a mixture of bright spells and showers for many. There will be some sunny spells at times, but in the north of Scotland and for parts of western Scotland, some more persistent rain, especially Orkney, and it will feel cold in the Northern Isles, milder elsewhere, but an increasing wind through the day. In fact, that wind reaching gale force in the north of Scotland, and then those gales pushing into Northern Ireland and parts of the Irish Sea coast, with northwest England, North Wales seeing gusts of 60, perhaps more, miles an hour. Some persistent rain running along the south coast of England. In between, there'll be some clear spells overnight, but colder air is spreading south, some icy patches for the north of Scotland, and some hill snow as we wake up on Thursday. And that spell of hill snow pushes into parts of northern England as well. Turns showery through the day on Thursday, so a mixture of rain and hail at lower levels, snow showers over hills. And then in the far south, any early rain clears, some sunny spells here, 12 degrees, 8 degrees for Manchester, feeling cold in the wind further north across Scotland and Northern Ireland, although there will be some bright weather around and some sunny spells here and there away from the showers. Showers spill south during Thursday evening. Clear spells follow. Again, hill snow affecting parts of Scotland, Northern England, North Wales as well, where we see those showers come and go. A frosty night on Friday into Saturday. It's going to be a fairly bright weekend for many, but there will be a chill